Hi there, I'm Nate Kokernot. Welcome to my channel. So I've been going through the MBTI functions, the 8 different functions in the MBTI framework. I've been doing it in alphabetical order, and I'm up to number 6 in the alphabet or the order, and that would be introverted sensing, SI, and it's known as the memory function at least in Joel and Antonio's Personality Hackers podcast. They use a car as their framework for the stack of functions. And yeah, so SI is the memory function. It is personally my least favorite function. I have it in the 10-year-old position in my car, which means I do feel confident about it if I receive some external validation from somebody else, like you did a good job with that, Nate, then I'll tend to believe them, but I won't feel confident in use of this function at any other time. And it frustrates the living daylights out of me. I'm going to tell you a story later, a personal story about my own kind of relationship with it. But to start with, I just want to go through the types that will have this in the different seats, as I've been doing with this whole series. So if you are an ISTJ or an ISFJ, then this is your driver function. And that means that you are naturally gifted at this. What it really has to do with is 2 things: procedures, like muscle memory, learning to tie your shoe. Like somebody with SI is probably going to learn how to tie their shoe a lot more quickly than somebody who doesn't have it in a strong place. But also making decisions. Oh. So I'm going to start by just going through the car and the different positions in the car where you might find SI with different personality types. If you are an ISTJ or an ISFJ, then you have it in the driver's seat of your car. And that means that you're naturally gifted at this function and that you almost take it for granted because it's been with you since day one. Your orientation towards the world is really based on this function. You're looking at the world through the lens of this function. Now, if you're an ESTJ or an ESFJ, then you have the SI in your co-pilot position. That means it's more of a nurture function than a nature function for you, and that you really want to understand how it shows up in yourself uniquely and then kind of lean into that. And it's meant to be both your own personal growth function, but it's also, because it's your co-pilot, it's meant to be how you teach others. So teaching, just by the way, ultimately, it's all through demonstration. So you demonstrate to others what it looks like to be a healthy, mature SI, if that's in your co-pilot position. And you are good at it. You probably do feel very confident and kind of excited by it because it's not something that was naturally in you, but it's something that you enjoy nurturing. I think anytime you're in your co-pilot function, you're kind of in the flow state, and you're meant to be there, and things are running pretty smoothly when you're there. If you're an INFP like me or an INTP, then you've got the SI function in your 10-year-old position in the backseat of the car. For us, yeah, this is, well, if we get some external validation about that we did a good job with procedure or something like that, then we'll believe them, but we tend to not feel very confident about this function at all. And then there's the 3-year-old. And if you're an ENFP or an ENTP, then you have this function in your 3-year-old position in the car. And that means it's likely going to cause kind of paralysis, grip states, fear, because you're never going to feel confident about your ability to use this function well. You're probably going to compare yourself to other people, see how good they are with procedures, and beat yourself up because you're not. And of course, the podcast that I share with all my clients there's a series called How to Love Yourself as a ... And their advice for all of them is do not beat yourself up for not being good at the 10-year-old and the 3-year-old functions, because you're never going to be really good at them. You're never going to feel confident at them. Actually, I think you could become really good at them and still not feel confident that you have mastered them. So if you beat yourself up, that's just putting pressure on yourself, and it's not going to make you learn it any faster. So that's the advice that they give, and that's the advice that I give, because the whole purpose of this MBTI system for me is to actually learn how to look at your strengths rather than at your weaknesses, and then love yourself as a result of that. And it also works with the external. You can look at other people's strengths instead of their weaknesses and really appreciate what they have to give to the world. So SI is the procedural function, and it's based on muscle memory, like internal sensation is the name of the function. So really, I think it's about learning how to do a procedure through just learning, embodying it almost. And it's just that because I think people with SI have more access to the past memory sensations, like the embodied memory, that it's easier for them to recall it, bring it up again, and do another, do the same procedure a second time with success. They learn much faster than other people. The other component of introverted sensing that I'm aware of is that they're making decisions informed by past events, because it's like they've got a file up there and all these associations come up for them in different situations, so they naturally remember like what decision they made in the past when they were in this similar position, and then based on the outcome they might decide which way to go. So the example that I give, the analogy is, you're walking down a path in the forest that you walked down 20 years ago. You come to a fork and you remember that you took the right hand fork 20 years ago and you ran into a bear's den. And so you're going to use that memory to basically you take the left hand fork in this case. So it's memory-based, memory-informed decision making. And of course, I have, as a challenged SI, I have basically no memory at all. My long-term memory is in the toilet. And for me, that's actually nice in a lot of ways, but it doesn't help when I'm trying to do something that I haven't done in 6 months, and it's not something I understand. And that drives me crazy as a 10-year-old version of SI. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about my own personal experience with it, and also kind of speak to the larger purpose of the whole MBTI here, that I see anyways. So as a therapist, one of the things that I need to do is navigate the health network. It has so many different components to it that are so confusing. There's, I have to have accreditation with like 4 different insurance companies. The processes, the forms that you have to fill out, and the documents that you have to produce and upload, they're different for every single one of these insurance entities. And then they also have things like HSAs, which are health savings accounts. So if you happen to have a high deductible, then your HSA can kick in and pay the therapist or pay the provider. But it seems as though the provider, myself, who, in my case, I don't have like an office manager because I can't afford one, that we have to understand their system. But their system is so confounding to me. Like every form that I open, I basically go into a panic state because I can't follow the procedures. They don't make sense to me. They seem to me completely redundant and absurd. Like they'll ask me to enter my name on 8 different pages of one of these forms, and I'm thinking to myself, can't you just accept that my name was my name the first time and maybe like transfer it to all those other places that you need my name for me? Like, Why do I have to keep telling you my name? Why do I have to remember this EIN, this SSN, this, what do they call it? The IPN. These are all numbers that supposedly are part of my identity. You can hear me just getting frustrated talking about it. And then what happens for me is I'm in such a state of lack of peace anytime that I'm confronted with one of these things that I have to do in order to attain my well-being, my livelihood. I go into a panic state and get really frustrated. I'll be on hold for 20 minutes, half an hour for a representative to try to, explain to me some part of this procedure, and so that it makes sense to me so that I can move forward with it. And I'm just getting increasingly frustrated on hold, and I can often be kind of edgy when they finally get me on the phone because I truly do not understand all of these details. It's like introverted or intuition in general, as I said in the very first one in the introverted intuition or extroverted intuition episode, we like to zoom out. We like to see the big picture. People with sensation in a strong place, they like to zoom in on the details. They're very focused on the details. And yeah, I'm just not a detail-oriented guy at all. You can see how much effort I put into the presentation and the appearance of my YouTube channel, for instance, that I'm not particularly concerned about the details. I'm concerned about presenting the content, and I don't put much emphasis or value on prettying up the content to make it appear nice. I'm just relying on the content itself because the content is, in my mind, true. And I just want to give you the raw, unfiltered truth. I don't care how it looks. I don't care what my background is. All those things are just not important to me because SI is not in the front seat of my car. So how the world should work in the MBTI thing is if we all really recognize, like, yeah, here are my gifts. Mine are extroverted intuition as a teaching thing, and then introverted feeling, the authenticity thing, which is actually more for me than for the world. It's for my own peace of mind. But I'm supposed to teach the world with extroverted intuition and help the world, support the world, support the people around me using that function. I recently had to apply for Medicare because basically there's a very obscure new law that means if somebody has secondary insurance and you've been getting paid from their secondary insurance, but they also have Medicare, then you're supposed to, as a provider, have Medicare, be enrolled with Medicare so that you can take their primary insurance instead of their secondary insurance. And I ended up having, from Blue Cross Blue Shield, $2,000 taken back because one of my clients had Medicare as their primary. And I had made a promise to myself after my original series of accreditations with insurance companies 4 or 5 years ago that I was never going to go through that process again because I got too stressed out to be of any help to my clients. If I lose my peace of mind, I lose my listening skills. I'm telling myself stories in my head about my own situation instead of listening to my client, which is what I'm being paid for, if I'm being paid. The whole thing is set up to basically make me not as effective at work, in my opinion. And I can't find anybody to help me answer these questions and get me through this in a way that's like I can remain calm. But what happened was I reached out to my Blue Cross Blue Shield local representative. She actually felt some sympathy for me, and she put me in touch with a literal angel, somebody who actually has this procedural function in a really high place and makes a living at basically helping small providers navigate this crazy, absurd, insane healthcare network of ours. And this guy didn't want any money. He just felt, he reached out to me, and he felt like it was an unfortunate and unfair thing that I'd gone through, and he just wanted to help me out of the kindness of his heart. And God bless. He has been dealing with the representatives who are kind of calling and telling me all the mistakes I made on the first set of forms for Medicare. He's handling it, because every time that I try to handle it, my mind just goes blank. I cannot understand. I cannot comprehend. I cannot compute what the hell this is all about. And I just go into a pure grip state with it. So he's handling all of that stuff for me for free. All he wants me to do is pay it forward, which means when somebody does you a great service, you just find a way to give a great service to somebody else, to pass it on. There's a great movie called Pay It Forward, and it really is kind of a holy way of looking at giving. So that's what I think MBTI is for, is if we really get to the pure understanding that if we want to be happy in this world, we have to support each other. We know that already. There's a part of us that knows that is what truly brings us happiness. And then we can kind of arrange ourselves in our different areas of expertise and come to each other's support with those expertise. So the angel, I won't name him, who came to my rescue in this ordeal that I've been dealing with for the last week, trying to recover the money that I earned and then was taken away from me again. He is a miracle, essentially. He showed up with a special set of skills that I did not possess, and got me through this, although the process is not done. They go on forever. But he has already assured me that he's going to be with me until the end, until we get this resolved. And I think that that's at the heart of why I talk about the MBTI in general, is so that, one, we can recognize our strengths and help others with our strengths. And two, so that we can recognize that, yeah, we're not naturally gifted at everything. And here's why. These polarities that I talk about that exist within the MBTI framework, they are exactly why we're not good at everything. And that's okay, because the things that we are good at happen to be things that other people are not good at, and we can support them with those, and they can support us with the things that they're good at. And that just makes a lot more sense. If we really think once and for all that our salvation will come together. In other words, that we don't find joy and peace and love alone. We find it in community, because the truth about us is that we are all one mind, one organism, one being. We are all literally in this together. And once we realize that entirely, that's when we're going to bring heaven to earth. Okay, I'm going to leave it there today. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and if you have, please like and subscribe and leave a comment. I've just been loving the comments that have been coming in. And I will see you next time. Wish you a day filled with blessings and miracles, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.